I just need you all to know that I don't want to read this. I need to start this vlog off by saying that, because I don't want any of you haters out there to comment down below when I roast the hell out of this book and I don't end up liking it. But I know you're gonna ask, well then Heather, why do you have the book in your hands and why are you doing a reading vlog for the book that you vehemently do not want to read? Well, I'm so glad you asked, my lovely, lovely viewers. It is because my dear, dear friend Monty from It's Monty Price decided to be an immense humanitarian and sponsor this vlog by sending me the book that I didn't plan on reading and I never wanted to read, so now he has forced me to read it because I can't just not read it now because he sent me a book out of his own fruition with his own money. Why he couldn't pick one of the billion books that are on my Amazon wish list for me to review? These are questions that we will never get the answer to, but we're here. We're going to do it now. I'm gonna read this 800-page alcohol mess, and y'all are all gonna enjoy it, because if I'm gonna torture myself, I am going to do it for views. Thank you. Let's get started. Let's move her over a little bit so I don't have to hold this. So, let's backtrack a little bit. This is going to be a spoiler vlog, by the way. I'm sure none of us are surprised about that. I am not going to censor myself throughout this entire process. Let's start off this video by doing a quick little backstory on my relationship with Miss Mass here. I have told this story a few times, so if you are not new here, hello, you'll have to bear with me as I give this backstory again. I was a huge Throne of Glass fan when I was a teenager when I read them. I read them around the same time that I read the Mortal Instruments. I read the first two books in the Throne of Glass series. I loved them. I loved Throne of Glass. That was like the birth of my love for the assassin trope. It was the first taste of like the bodyguard trope with Cole, who I still think of very fondly, even though I cannot bring myself to ever finish that series. Heir of Fire, once I read it, or read half of it, I don't even think I finished it, it put me in about like a 4/5 year reading slump. It was the last book that I read or attempted to read before 2018 when I started reading again once I discovered BookTube and all of that stuff. My brain did not make the connection. She was not there. She did not make the correlation between the reading slump and Sarah J. Maas. So the first book that I read in 2018 after not reading regularly was A Court of Thorns and Roses. And as you can probably expect, I did not care for A Court of Thorns and Roses. I didn't hate it. It wasn't terrible, but it was very average for me, and I do not see myself ever continuing with that series. Sarah J. Maas just is not the author for me, and I feel like that's fine. Not all authors are gonna jive with all readers. I just do not care for the recycledness of her writing, and again, that's not necessarily a bad thing to stick to what you like and have kind of a formula about your books and your stories. I mean, obviously the girl is successful as hell, so who am I to say that she is not doing it right, you know? But I don't really like the formula to start off with, so I don't want to read about it like 4 or 5 times. I also just don't jive with her writing style. I think it is very basic, it's very generic. Her characters, again, alongside the formulaic aspect to them, they're just so basic and generic and just so tropey. Because I never planned on reading this book, I never even put a hold on my library for this book. I even put The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern, the author of The Night Circus, which I couldn't even finish 3 times I tried to read that book, on hold at my library. So you know, I had no plan on ever picking this darling book up. I just did not want to do it. Partly because I don't like Sarah J. Maas and I knew I wasn't going to like this book. Another part of me is there are so many Maas haters out there. I am not the first person to make criticisms of Sarah J. Maas and her stories, and I am certainly not going to be the last. So even though I live for views and validation, I did not plan on doing a vlog for this, even for the views, because again, I don't need to add to the Sarah J. Maas hate out there. It's just, we've all heard the exact same criticisms, and honestly, even someone who doesn't like her work, I'm tired of it. It's boring. Can you come up with something else, please? Hopefully I can do so during this vlog. I mean, I'm sure I will be saying very similar things to everything that everybody else has said before about this book. All of that being said, I wanted to just open this vlog very clearly stating my previous relationship with Sarah J. Maas's writing, my feelings with her as a writer. Hopefully by saying that right off the bat, I don't get people really mad, because like I'm saying straight up before even reading a page of this book, I am probably not going to like this. But I'm also very much aware of the fact that I am not the audience for Sarah J. Maas. I am not the person that really loves her writing. So hopefully y'all won't attack me when again, I won't end up liking this. I just really need to drive home the fact that I did not plan on reading this book. But then it showed up on my door today, and now I have to read it because somebody spent their money on me to read it. So think of this as a sponsored video. It's sponsored by Monty. If you are angry at anything that I say in this video, you can take it up with him. He has not agreed to this, but you know, this is the karma that he is going to get. So direct yourself to him. Do not come for me. I have vehemently stated everything in the contract in this intro to this video. So you have been forewarned. If you continue watching, you cannot be mad. Okay? Now that we've gotten that kind of out of the way, I did, before I started reading again, wanted to give my pre-reading thoughts. Because again, like I said, I did not plan on reading this book. So of course, I have watched all of the spoilery vlogs that have come out because of this book. Because obviously I was still curious. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you and say that I wasn't curious to see what Sarah J. Maas did with adult fantasy. I love adult fantasy, so obviously, even though I wasn't gonna read this book, I wanted to see what the tea was. So let's get into, again, my pre-reading thoughts from what I have accumulated throughout the various spoiler vlogs that I've watched so far. Let me give a synopsis for a book I haven't read. So basically, we are following Bryce Lane, I think is how you say her last name, probably not. And she is a half fae, half human, and she is the most powerful of the most powerful of the most powerful. This is a Sarah J. Maas book we're talking about. This isn't a surprise to anybody. We don't learn that until the very end, so I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But bottom line, she is our party girl. She does a lot of drugs. She parties a lot. She loves herself. She loves her body, which honestly, we love. We stand. Good for her. She is racially ambiguous, as is every single character in this book. And all of her friends end up getting murdered. All of her friends are like werewolves in this like werewolf pack, including her gay lesbian lover, Danica. And so she gets wrapped up in this investigation with this angel cop Republican named Hunt. And they are forced to work together in this murder investigation to see what the hell is happening. Oh, I also forgot, Bryce is also looking for this like ancient artifact, which I guess Danica ended up stealing, which is also a spoiler. So again, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but that's like a plot twist at the end that I know about. And there's also some weird thing with Bryce's brother where it's like kind of incest, but it's not incest. Don't know what that's about. We're gonna find out. I think Hunt is, again, just a decoy, which Sarah J. Maas just loves to do. She loves to have a first book have a completely different love interest than the second book. So I think that Hunt and Bryce are not going to be endgame, and Bryce is going to be endgame with this demon daddy, who I was all for meeting, and he was the only bright spot in this entire book without me even reading about the entire book, until I just learned today while scrolling through Twitter that demon daddy is blonde. So we're just adding on the disappointments to this book. So thoughts about that. Like I said, Bryce and Danica are gay lesbian lovers. We love to see it. We love to support them, even though Sarah J. Maas doesn't want to give us that representation. 2, I don't think I'm going to like Hunt. I think he's going to be a pussy boy that I just am not jived with. And he's also a knockoff Reese, and I didn't even like Reese. So that's that on that. 3, the mermaid boy that comes into this book is probably going to be my favorite character, aside from Demon Daddy. So if we get more of him, that would be great, but I'm sure we won't because Sarah J. Maas doesn't have the range. 4, I am going to be tired of seeing golden skinned and alpha hole the first time I see them. 5, the magic system and the fantastical world is going to be garbage, and I'm not going to enjoy it whatsoever, and it's going to be a complete mess. 6, because the magic system in the fantasy world sucks ass, and the plot is probably going to be non-existent to bare bone to not making sense at all. I'm also not going to like the romance because I'm not going to like Hunt, and it's going to just not be cute because I've never liked a Sarah J. Maas romance except for Cole and Selena, and that was only in the first book, and then she apparently did Cole dirty, and again, I don't even want to read about that. 7, I'm gonna like the concept of Bryce and her sex positivity, but she's going to be so obnoxious and annoying because Sarah J. Maas is a Pisces and can't write a normal female character. Therefore, I will be annoyed the entire book with both the plot, romance, magic system, world, and also the main character. I think that's enough theories for this one clip. This is gonna be a ride. I hope you guys are strapped in. I hope you guys are ready for this. I did not ask for this, but you know what? You did because you clicked on this video. Oh yeah, how could I forget to talk about the fucking Bible pages? Y'all were not kidding. What in the hell? Who made that decision? I would like to know, and I would like to sue. Thank you. 50 pages in. Thoughts so far. This is honestly borderline queer baiting. Just gonna say it. Just gonna put it out there. I would just like to talk to Sarah J. Maas and all other female authors that do this and display female friendships like this, because I have never in my life, as a bisexual woman who actually loves the ladies, had female friendships like this. I have started to tab, all of the green tabs, if you can see, are all of the times that lesbian activity has taken place. When Bryce was talking about the drop, she literally mentions for like a whole 3 pages that her and Danica are gonna spend immortality together and she wouldn't have it any other way. And there's also a point where freaking Bryce is all like, oh, I don't even know if I can love, if I am capable of love, when Danica gives me everything I could ever want. And you're trying to tell me that they're not gay. Like I said at the very beginning of the video, and like I'm probably going to reinforce throughout this whole thing, I'm not saying anything new here. I feel like a lot of people have said the very same thing, but I would just like to point it out because the receipts are there and you cannot convince me otherwise. Second thing, what is Sarah J. Maas's thing with scents? I have barely touched the content in this book, but for some reason, everybody can just smell things. Like, they can just smell everything, and everybody just has scents to them. And I just don't understand, why is it there? Like, just make them mind readers. It was referenced that Bryce's mom had to, run away before her father could scent that her mother was pregnant with her. And I know there's another point that Chandler mentioned in her vlog where Hunt, our love interest, could scent that Bryce wasn't wearing panties because of her coochie is stankin'. why can everybody smell things? It's just something that I've noticed, and I would like amended. On the note of Danica, she's already way better than Bryce as main character. Like, I already love her. She's great, which is unfortunate because she, you know, which to be expected. Of course, the one character that I actually like, Sarah J. Maas, is gonna kill off. Connor, trash. He's all like, oh my god, I know you want me and I want you, right after Bryce says that she don't want to date him. I'm like, did you not listen to her? She literally said she didn't want you. And we find out that he's a double texter. And his name is Connor. So truly, he never had a chance. I don't care what kind of species you are. If your name is Connor, the sex appeal was never there to begin with. Another thing I do not like, which is not a big deal, right? I mean, nothing is a big deal. It's just a book. But the whole thing about Bryce being the wrong body type for a dancer. I know Sarah J. Maas is not trying to make me feel sorry for Bryce for having a thick ass. That's not what we're going to do. We are not going to try to inflict pity on the reader for Bryce having a huge ass. Like that, that's just not going to be possible. I don't understand why that was already mentioned 3 times in 50 pages, that she doesn't have the right body type for a dancer. Like, who cares? You're like in this fantastical world. Like, who cares that you don't have your dreams to be a ballet dancer? Also, that's not a thing. Like, you can be a ballet dancer with a thick ass. It's possible. It's a thing. As far as the world goes, wow, the info dumps were real. Like, again, many people have mentioned this, but there are so many names and characters that are just popping up out of nowhere. I was on FaceTime with Carly and Ian has read this book. So, like, every single, 5 minutes, I was like, who is Fury? Who is Juniper? Who is Declan? Like, who are these people? And thankfully he was there to tell me who they were. But yeah, the info dumps are real and they're not necessary. Like, I get the characters, but as far as the world and the history and all of those things, this is an urban fantasy. Like, it's not complicated. It is to an extent, right, because it's still a new world, but it's still an urban fantasy, so it's not necessarily anything new, especially because all of these creatures are also things that we know about. So I feel like Sarah J. Maas is just making it overly complicated the way that she is presenting all of these ideas, and I feel like it just could have been done a lot smoother and not as info dumping. I don't understand also how there's sedans. It's weird that she mentioned that Danica's mom travels around a chauffeured sedan. That was strange to me, and that's another reason why I just don't like urban fantasy. It just really takes me out of the story. I also feel like God's Damned is the golden skinned that I was afraid of. God's Damned has been typed up so many times, and that's just the new exclamation point that was in Throne of Glass, and honestly, it's making me miss the exclamation point. I just think it's kind of weird, the fact that there are angels in this fantasy world where there isn't really Christianity, and yet their lore also has fallen angels who lost a rebellion, and also that they did exist because it mentions early humans worshiping them in connection to the divine, but it also mentions that these creatures came after the crossing, so it's some kind of portal realm thing, and I don't know, the lore just does not match up because every species has their own thing and then they're all connected somehow, and it doesn't make sense. I've been playing Animal Crossing so much that I thought this said froggy chair. Every time this woman info dumps, it sounds like a goddamn essay I wrote sophomore year of high school, because she constantly uses sentence starters like indeed and also and furthermore. I'm like, bitch, are we in English class? Miss Maas. A butterfly shifter? So that's how far we're taking this, huh? This has been the formula for the last 120 pages. Character
enters a room, sees another character, then goes into a 5-page long backstory on some random world building that doesn't make sense, doesn't have really anything to do with the context, and 3 is abnormally long and convoluted where you forget what you were doing in the first place, and 5-page info dump on such a random aspect of this stupid ass world. Then we're back in the character seeing that other character and you're like, oh yeah, they're about to go shower. The scent of her still lingered on the sidewalk, lilac and nutmeg, and something he couldn't quite place, like a gleam of the first stars at nightfall. Hunt is undoubtedly, absolutely a full-on Republican. Character descriptions don't necessarily matter all that much to me, but the fact that it took 132 pages just to see what hair color Jessica had, it's just one of those things where Sarah J. Maas, her priorities on what she wants to tell the readers and what she needs to tell the readers just do not match up. Like, I get it, we need to have backstory on, like, the world, but as I said previously, maybe when you look at a character, maybe describe how they look first before we get into their whole life story. Okay, I really just need to show you guys this, just so you understand, like, why the writing style just does not jive with me, especially when it comes to this book. So here we have a scene with Hunt learning that his crazy ex-girlfriend's sister is coming to the city. And so you have him realizing that. And then blah, 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 whatever. And then we have another thought of Bryce's boss asking why Bryce has anything to do with the murder. So we have the thought about Sandriel. Okay, we got that. And then we have a question about Bryce. But then we have to go back to Sandriel because we have to have Hunt react to Sandriel. And then we go back to Bryce. Like, do you see how it's like, why is it broken up? It should be this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Does that make sense? Like, it may seem like a little thing, but that is how everything is written, and that's how every scene plays out, whether it is a random backstory that is broken up in the chapter, or just thought processes, or questions, or dialogue. It is so convoluted and overly complicated, and it just takes you out of the story, and it has been like that since the very beginning of the story, so I was never in it to begin with, and I have just been struggling the entire time. Bryce said quietly, her amber eyes full of cold fire. I'll find them. She met the Archangel's gaze, and then I want you to rip them off the fucking planet. Yeah, Quinlan had balls. Hunt is the kind of person that sees a woman with really long nails and asks her how she wipes her ass. Thank God that Sarah J. Maas made an effort to tell us that dicks that have been cut off can be regrown. What would we do if our mountain-shaking dicks were not on the table? Ew! The way I just recoiled and cringed within my soul when Hunt just called her sweetheart? That is disgusting. Oh my god, get this man away from me. Ew. I don't think y'all understand how much I want to slap this man. Sir, is absolutely fucking not. Like, what the hell is his problem, though? Like, why does he have to call Bryce stupid every 5 fucking seconds? Like, he's one of those dumbasses that repost that stripper meme where she's, like, picks up a book and then all of a sudden she becomes shorter, blonder, and whiter. You guys know what I'm talking about. He's the creator of that meme, in fact. He is the original artist. Dude, what the hell is your problem? She just hugged her nail lady. Why are you so mad about that? Ren's got that good kush. I'm only gonna say this once because I feel like it's just going to be a repeating factor, but you're trying to tell me that this whole, like, precinct of policemen or whatever couldn't figure out that the vampire dude had a girlfriend? That is so bare minimum. And I know that every single time Bryce figures something out, like, although I'm sure she's not dumb, it's just the fact that it has been, what has it been? 2 years? 3 years? 4 years since Danica's death, and they haven't figured out anything? She is using a museum tour guide as a tool for world building. I have never in my life read a fantasy book that has made me hate fantasy. I just hate the blatant plagiarism of various other mythologies and religions. It's like she didn't even try to make it unique, and even if she just changed the names, kind of, with these goddesses or gods, it's like, it's not even interesting because she barely even gives the mythos, and it's just so obviously half-assed, and it's so irritating, and oh my god, I'm almost 300 pages into this book, and I just hate it so much, and I'm not even close to finishing, and I am going through it. If you have to threaten someone with every breath you take, you are no longer threatening in the slightest. Wait a damn minute. Look at this shit. Look at that. What is that? I refuse to believe that Sarah J. Maas is this fucking dumb. And if she's not dumb, then she's queer baiting the fuck out of her readers. This man has looked into her underwear drawers, and a paragraph later is talking about how hot her mother is. So, that's where I'm at in the book right now. I can't believe the only person in this book who deserves rights is Rune. I should really just title this video, I Hate Hunt Athalar, and this is why, because all of my complaints are about him. But the fact that he has a phone full of photos of dismembered body parts, like, y'all really stan this man. Y'all really stan this man, and I would just like you guys to, reevaluate your taste and your interests. His name is Orion Hunt. Sarah J. Maas is fucking with me. She has to be fucking with me. Okay, so this is really nitpicky, but the timeline for this whole world just doesn't add up, because we don't know a whole lot that is actually relevant. So bear with me on that part. We know that there was a point where we live as regular people, and then there was a crossing that happened where, like, all of the crazy people and, like, all of, like, the shifters and the angels and all of that, then they came to our world and whatever. But Sarah J. Maas mentions that humans, the only way of protecting themselves was through, like, bombs and stuff. So obviously the crossing happened at the beginning of the 20th century. All right. Fair enough. Hunt just said that he was born before computers. So does that mean that wherever Hunt and the angels and the shifters come from didn't have computers? Does that mean that he was born in, like, the 50s or the 40s, even though there were computers then? I don't know what year mainstream computers happened. I guess more like the 80s. Or, I'm very confused about the timeline once she brought up the whole crossing scenario. So I want to know, like, how long ago that was and what point in our real world time did that happen. Because if she would have told me just straight up that the crossing happened without any, like, indications of culture, like bombs or computers or technology or anything like that, I would assume that this is, like, a future past our time. Like, this happens, like, centuries in our timeline. But now that she has brought in, like, our world technology along with, like, cars and all of those things, now it's making it complicated, because I'm like, okay, what is the timeline here? I would like to know, like, how long ago this crossing happened, when it happened, how long have shifters and supernatural beings been coexisting with humans? How long did humans themselves live just amongst them? Because we also know that angels, like Christianity, did exist. It has been referenced that humans used to worship angels in their like religious belief. So we also know that Christianity is a thing. So bottom line, I just want to know the timeline. Okay, so we have a date. So this takes place in the year 15035. So that raises more questions. Of course it does. So that is quite far from our year 2020. Why then is the technology like our technology right now? Like, I haven't seen any new technology unless you count like the security in like houses and stuff, but that's like to ward off like other beings and stuff. So that's more of like magic, quote unquote. And I guess like the immense like security cameras as well, because it seems like they have a pretty advanced camera system, because like everywhere has cameras, I guess. So I guess you could count that as well. But just going off what I know, and those are the only two things I know, I am curious as to why the technology is not advanced in the slightest, and why everything is very reminiscent of our world, and all of the descriptions of everything is pretty reminiscent of our world. So, probably Sarah J. Maas did not think about this at all, but if you are going to market your book as adult fantasy, I'm going to analyze your book like I would any other adult fantasy. So, that's just how the game works, and a big part, I would say probably the most important part of adult fantasy, is the world building. So that's why I'm paying so much attention to this. It could be this is a completely different world to our world, but again, that doesn't really make sense because of the history that we have been given so far, because she has referenced to a time where shifters and all of those things have not lived in this world. And she has also referenced the history of those humans pre the crossing, as I mentioned before, with Christianity and things like that. So it leads me to believe that our world has evolved into having supernatural beings in it, and this is our world. And if it isn't our world, and it's a completely different place, and it's not on Earth, then why do we have history of our religions and our technology? So it can't be that. And thirdly, she could have just put a random date, and there isn't a timeline, and she just chose a random date, and their form of dating is a lot different than our form of dating. Suffice to say, this whole world building is fucked up, and I am tired of hearing so many people praise it for being so lush and so good, and I'm just like, it doesn't make sense. Period. That was the shooting scene everybody's losing their tits over. I beg of you guys to read a better author, please. The fact that Hunt has a foot fetish and Reese just likes to eat women out just proves that Hunt is the Republican Reesan, and you cannot convince me otherwise. I like how Hunt didn't want to get in a car because it was raining, so instead of getting in a car that shields you from the rain, he decided to fly in the sky. This man just said, don't forget to clean between your toes. Danica isn't a lovey-dovey person, and yet she told her friend that she is completely platonic with that she loved her. Is Sarah J. Maas even capable of writing a semblance of a threatening character? Because every single time somebody threatens anybody in this book, I'm snoozing. So, why in the hell would the newspaper release the text message between Bryce and Danica? Like, why would they release those? That doesn't make any sense to me. Of course, instead of actually creating a cohesive universe and world, she just says, oh, anything's possible. There are portals to anywhere and everywhere, and there are multi-universes, and everything's possible. How big is this city? Because everybody just be running everywhere when they get upset. Like, Bryce has just gotten upset and then ran to a bar like 50 times in this book. I'm like, where are you running to? Like, why don't you just get a car? You honestly could skip the first 2 pages of almost every single chapter in this book and not lose any information whatsoever, because all of it is so much mundane activities that does not matter at all. I do not care how Bryce likes her eggs in the morning. I do not give a shit. I know this woman is not making me read a whole ass chapter about Bryce and Hunt having a meeting with her mother. Do y'all actually care about this shit? Because I'm like, if you can't tell by my most recent updates, I am so incredibly done with this book. Like, at first it was like, oh, it's cute, I hate it, it's whatever, it's a cool time to just rant to the camera. But at this point, 500 pages into this book and not enjoying a single page of it, I'm going a little crazy, and I cannot wait for this to end. Danica being an Aries, love to see it. Because why wouldn't Hunt be murdered with the other angels once Micah learned that they all betrayed him? Plot conveniences, friends. Plot conveniences. Bryce was really just gonna sell herself for this dumbass man. I think it is so absurdly boring that angels are the most powerful race in this world. Like, you're trying to tell me that the most powerful witches can't snuff out an angel with a flick of their wrist? Like, come on now. They're not that great. They're just giant birds. Giant birds who can control some elemental magic. Okay, and witches can control all the elements and do all the shit. Like, come on now. Hella boring. So, the angels are lame, and they ban books and ban the excavation of knowledge. Got it. Makes sense. The horn is in her fucking tattoo? What the fuck? That doesn't make... You know what? I'm not even gonna say it. Again, this is Sarah J. Maas. She can do whatever the fuck she wants. I'm never gonna understand any of it, so I'm just gonna let it be. These fucking plot twists don't make any sense. It is so convoluted. So, first we have Briggs, but he's not the bad guy because he's just a human in prison that blows up stuff. Okay, fine. And then we have this Crystallos demon that, for some reason, tracks the horn. So then we're like, oh, okay, then it's Briggs summoning that demon to get the horn. Okay, Briggs isn't involved at all. Okay, so it's another person that's just summoning this demon to get the horn and carry out all of the murders. But then it's like, no, the demons are just trackers for some reason. So then 3, we have, oh, Danica murdered herself and her pack, and the horn isn't even a thing, and it's not even relevant to the whole case at hand, which I never believed, by the way, but that's what the book leads you to believe. And then 4, oh, plot twist, again, it's actually Micah behind the whole thing. He wants the horn, and he summoned these demons to try to find the horn for him, but he couldn't find the horn, and so he injected Danica with this drug after she found the horn and wouldn't tell him, and for some reason she was able to escape the demons that were always tracking it. And then she still ended up killing herself in her pack, but she was injected by Micah, who is the angel who did all of these things in this crazy convoluted plot to get this stupid ass horn. Just so one person wouldn't be able to be as powerful as an angel. That's certainly a way to create plot and conflict. Certainly. And now she just locked an angel in a book. Like, what is this magic system? What is it? Where are the rules? Where are these things coming from? Oh yeah, nowhere. Out of her ass. Because, again, say it with me, plot conveniences. Also, Mina referenced this in her vlog, so definitely go check her vlog out. But the fact that they're just watching all of this happen on TV screens, and the fact that I have mentioned I haven't mentioned it multiple times, but I've read multiple times, freaking Bryce just running around this whole entire city in a fit of rage and just running around and getting to one place or another. So we've already established that this city is small as fuck. But now, because of course the plot can't just have everybody get to the scene and then it'll all be over and happily ever after, it takes an hour for an archangel to get to this antique store or antiquities or whatever, and it takes 30 minutes with a helicopter. But Bryce was just running around everywhere. She is really fast when she's upset. Gotta hand it to her. Crazy. Why do they keep underestimating her powers? I just don't understand. You know, as far as endings go, Bryce vacuuming up an archangel, that's certainly one way to go, for sure. Yes, because the flood of demons, of course, stop their flooding once Bryce can't get shelter. Because, of course, if the demons would just keep coming because the gates are open, so why would they wait for true night to come when they came before true night? Because of course, if they did that, then Bryce wouldn't be able to fend them off and she would die. Again, plot conveniences. These are the last 200 pages, folks. These are the last 200 pages that I have been waiting so long for. So, suffice to say, I'm not disappointed at all.
I am so glad I'm fucking done with this book. This was so bad. Just as I expected. It was such a mess. And it wasn't even fun. Like, it wasn't even entertaining. I don't understand why even Sarah J. Maas fans love this book. Because it doesn't have all of the elements that even a tolerable Sarah J. Maas book has. Like, it wasn't entertaining. It was boring as hell. It was long as hell. It was confusing as hell. It had plot hole after plot hole after plot hole after plot hole. There was zero world building. All of it was info dumpy and not relevant to the story whatsoever and contributed nothing. There was not even a romance. You could get like 200 pages of like the actual romance, but most of the time it's Hunt being a literal dick the entire time, and then you don't really even get any banter between them at all, even when they start to like each other. And also the transition between him being a dick to them liking each other, non-existent. Don't know where that even came from. And of course I hated him regardless, so it's not like I was even looking for it, but it wasn't there. So there's no romance, there's no tension, there's no excitement, there's no entertainment. So I'm just really confused on who the audience for this book was, because let's just say it like it is. It's not fantasy readers, or it's not adult fantasy readers, because as I've established, don't know what the hell she was trying to do here, but she was very far off from that original goal. I don't think it's for Sarah J. Maas readers. I mean, I have heard Sarah J. Maas readers say that they love this book, obviously. I just don't see it. Granted, I've only read like the first couple books in Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses, but even me, who I've established at the very start of this video, who does not like Sarah J. Maas, would read the entire ACOTAR series 20 times over than dare read another page of this book. I don't understand who she was trying to appeal to with this book. I just don't get the goal. I don't get the audience. I don't get the point. And I am so happy that I finished this book because it was a total mess. I honestly thought that I was gonna give this a 2-star. No way. It's a hardcore 1, and definitely my worst read of the year so far. Nobody is surprised about this. This is what we expected. This is why I didn't want to read this book. But again, this video is sponsored by Monty. He sent me this book, so I had to read it, and here we are. I have read it. You're welcome, Monty. You're welcome, everybody watching this. I hope you were entertained. I, for one, am going to edit this vlog and then scrub my brain in hopes of recovering a semblance of a brain cell that I lost from this reading experience. I hope I was able to entertain you all through my torture and through my pain. Thank you, and remember, through love, anything is possible. Bye.